I'm here tonight to induct Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. When I was 13 years old, a next-door neighbor handed me a blank cassette tape labeled Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble. I actually thought Stevie Ray Vaughan was on side A and Double Trouble was on side B, and they were two separate bands. Anyway, both sides were really good. I took it home, I pressed play, and started listening somewhere in the middle of what I later found out was Texas Flood. I can't describe the feeling I had when I first heard that sound. It's that feeling you get when you hear the real thing for the first time. I had already started figuring out that there were two ways to play the guitar. There was strumming chords, and then that other thing that I didn't have the slightest clue how to break into, but was so elemental. And Stevie was playing that other thing and doing it with such intensity and command. And I could see all the way down into it, like the eye of a storm. And the second I heard it, I knew that it was going to mean everything to me. Stevie Ray Vaughan is the ultimate guitar hero. And every hero, And every hero has an origin story, a legend that explains how they came into their powers. Stevie's origin story unfolded as a teenager living in the Oak Cliff district of Dallas, Texas. I wish I was from there so bad, I can't even tell you. By day, he was a shy, reserved high school kid, struggling to stay awake at his desk. But by night, he would plug in his electric guitar and transcend everything. His time, his place, his age, and slip into that other world. You know the one I'm talking about, where guitars live and gods live, and where the only thing that matters is getting the music to sit inside you the right way. I saw Oak Cliff a little like my hometown of Fairfield, Connecticut. Sometimes you find out what it is you want to be in this life a little too early for your own good. And sometimes I felt like my town was going to trap me in it until I stopped asking what else was out there. But Stevie used his guitar to find that door leading out of town, and he blew it wide open to take the world by storm. And that gave me hope, because heroes give you hope. There's an intensity to Stevie's guitar playing that only he could achieve, still to this day. It's a rage without the anger. It's devotional. It's religious. It was as otherworldly as Hendrix, but where Hendrix was coming down from outer space, Stevie came up from below the ground. He played Voodoo Child as if it were forged out of solid steel instead of beamed like cosmic rays. He took the spirit and style of every blues guitar player who ever lived and put it into one perfect modern-day language. He seamlessly melded the supernatural vibe of Jimi Hendrix, the intensity of Albert King, the best of British, Texas, and Chicago blues, and the class and sharpshooter precision of his older brother, Jimmy. He was that rare talent that you can't trace the emergence of, talent that was just born in. Even on his high school band's LP, he still sounds just like Stevie Ray Vaughan. Some flowers, man, they just push through the ground already in full bloom. Stevie Ray Vaughan is the ultimate guitar hero. He sauntered into the 80s neon-colored pop scene looking like Clint Eastwood in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly if he'd worn a battered Fender Stratocaster slung over his shoulder. In one fell swoop, with his phenomenal guitar playing, his gravel over honey singing voice, and tunes that were born to live forever on rock radio, he introduced blues music to a new generation that had never heard or felt it before, but he could not have done it alone. Chris Layton, Tommy Shannon, and Reese Winans, his band Double Trouble, were the reason that Stevie was able to break the barrier. Double Trouble was the reason that Stevie was able to break the barrier between music that guitar players loved and music that everybody could feel. Double Trouble played as one unit and made one big, beautiful sound that could take your breath away. By all accounts, if Stevie and Double Trouble took the stage to open for someone, they gave it back to him in shambles. But guitar players alone can't do that. We've all seen great guitar players. Bands do that. Wrecking crews do that. Stevie and Double Trouble recorded their debut album, Texas Flood, with all the fire of their live shows, but produced it in a way that played just enough by the rules of the day so that the MTV generation could take note. And thank God they did, because I don't know that I would have been able to process how incredibly deep and powerful blues music is if it weren't presented in a modern context. I grew up listening to Thriller and Van Halen 1984 and the Footloose soundtrack, so when it came time to give, the Footloose soundtrack will have its day. That's for another time. This is not the forum. 19 years, Jan, 19 years. So when it came time to give Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble a listen, it sounded like an exotic story told in a familiar voice. The tunes go across, the message goes up and down, and it's the tune that carries the message to the masses. Stevie Ray Vaughan is the ultimate guitar hero. One of the traits that define a hero is courage. And Stevie had incredible courage because he fought to overcome the demons of drug and alcohol addiction. And when he did, he returned to the stage an even better guitar player for it. The only reason that I know exactly what sobriety meant to Stevie in his heart and soul is because he had the courage to talk openly about it on stage. He spoke to the crowd during the breakdown of Life Without You about how drugs and alcohol wasn't where it was at. My hero telling me that he tried living that life and it didn't work. And so because of Stevie, I grew up proudly turning down every drug and drink ever offered to me because in my mind, that could bring me closer to being like the man I never met and never could. Heroes can save your life. There's a term, it gets thrown around in music conversations, especially about guitar players. It's called a wannabe. It means you're a fake, it means you're a fraud, phony. But if you straighten the words out, it means want to be. And wanting to be something is really important. It's meaningful. It's a good way to live. And I'm a Stevie Ray Vaughan wannabe because I wanted to be Stevie. And I still want to be Stevie. And if you ever pick up a guitar, is there anyone better to want to be than Stevie Ray Vaughan? Stevie was the ultimate guitar hero, and heroes live forever. On behalf of every guitar player and every blues lover, it is the honor of a lifetime to induct Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.